Today's hollow point test will be the 248 grain Keith semi-wad cutters with the Penta hollow point design. These are cast from the 1:16 alloy and have a BHN of 10.4. This will be the first time I've tested the Penta design at more than about 970 feet per second. These have been loaded into 44 Magnum cases with 10 grains of unique. The firearm for today's test will be the Smith & Wesson Model 29 with a 6.5 inch barrel. The average velocity of the 5 shots was 1106 feet per second. The penetration varied quite a bit, but the average was 19.6 inches. The expansion also varied quite a bit, with an overall average of 0.642 inches. Let's take a look at each individual shot and bullet. Here you can see the first shot. This one and the next one were both a hair over 1120 feet per second, and the entire nose, or all 5 petals, broke off of both bullets. The bullet base for this shot penetrated 22.25 inches, but the majority of the nose petals only penetrated 11.75 inches. The diameter of the bullet base was 0.44 inches, a true .44 caliber, and the weight of that bullet base was 147.6 grains. The second shot gave similar results. All 5 petals broke off. The bullet base penetrated 26.75 inches, and the petals penetrated about 19 inches, with one petal stopping at 17 inches. The expansion and retained weight of the bullet base was very similar to the first shot. Shots 3 through 5 were a touch slower, and they did not fragment as much. This was the third bullet, and as you can see, one petal broke off. This petal penetrated 8.25 inches, and the rest of the bullet penetrated 15.5 inches. Note that this bullet, shot 3, did bounce back 1.5 inches before it came to rest. It expanded a touch over 3/4 inch. Shot 4 was very similar. It had 2 petals break off. One penetrated 8.5 inches, the other was 11.5 inches, and then the rest of the bullet penetrated 18 inches. The expansion of this shot was similar to shots 3 and 5. The final shot, number 5, was the slowest of the day at 1,084 feet per second. This was the only bullet that did not lose any petals, and it penetrated 15 3/8 inches, but note that this bullet bounced back an inch before it came to rest. Examining these 5 shots, there's really 2 groups that emerge. Shots 1 and 2 were about the same velocity and gave similar performance, and then shots 3 through 5 were a hair slower and they performed similar to each other. If the data from the first 2 shots is removed, it paints a slightly different picture. Ignoring the first 2 shots, which both fragmented off all 5 of their nose petals, drops the average penetration by more than 3 inches, and it puts the penetration back into that FBI testing target of 12 to 18 inches. It also increases the average expansion by 1/8 inch and increases the retained weight by quite a bit. Does that mean that shots 1 and 2 would not be effective? Of course not. All 5 shots left similar impressive wound cavities, but it does mean that they would perform slightly differently. Whether or not that is a good thing depends on the situation and the preference and requirements of the shooter. It does appear that these were sitting right at the edge of a very thin line between expansion and fragmentation, which is interesting and entertaining to see. For the next test, I'll use the same loading, but with the large round hollow points instead of the Penta design. As always, thank you for watching, and God bless.